Good morning. I'm getting ready to host a private strategy day today, but before I did that, I wanted to pop in and address a question that we've gotten quite a lot into our sort of instant messages, our email box, our concierge box, and wanted to address everything that's going on in the marketplace and what our thoughts are for consultants and coaches and other experts, especially those who've had contract disruptions in the federal government space, which is something that's happening. And there's not just at the direct sort of prime level of federal contracts, but obviously subcontractors who are affected by this, even trickle down into nonprofits, quasi-government organizations, even a little bit at the state level. And then, of course, we're just seeing some trepidation of corporate decision makers in certain industries that aren't sure what is going to happen over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months inside their organizations due to everything that's going on with the trade war. And AI, of course, let's just throw that in there because that's also disrupting pretty much everything. And so, what do you do? What do you do if you're an executive coach, if you're a corporate trainer, if you're a consultant, you're a services provider, and you're starting to see a little bit of a slowdown in the pipeline in terms of contracts getting closed? You have clients who are maybe delaying signing because they're getting nervous, or even contracts that have been delayed or canceled outright. So what do you do? Where do you start, and where's the best place for you to focus? Normally I am the first person to say you absolutely have to be focused as a business owner, as a CEO, as the owner of a company. You have to be hyper focused in everything that you do. You do not have a minute of the day where you can be diluting your efforts. So that is sort of, we want to hold that kind of up here, while at the same time, I'm going to say to you, the best thing that you can do for your consulting, your coaching, your services business right now is look at ways to diversify. And this does not only go for those who are working in the federal government space, or one of the areas that has been directly impacted by everything that's going on in the marketplace today. Really, every single sector of the marketplace and every single function of an organization is going to be disrupted, right? It's either being disrupted right now, or it is going to be disrupted in the near future. You look at, for example, we were just talking in our Bold House group this morning about the fact that AI is really being brought to bear first and foremost inside of organizations in terms of their products and services suite. So CEOs right now are hyper focused on how do we put AI, how do we integrate AI into what we're doing in terms of our products and our services. That's where they're putting it first in sort of their go-to-market strategy. But as soon as that gets underway, they're going to start pulling that AI into every single workflow inside their organization. Really, ERP implementations had nothing on, compared to what AI is going to do inside of organizations. So everywhere is going to be disrupted, even more so than it already has. But obviously, certain consultants, certain coaches, certain service providers are feeling it more so than others, particularly those who had a lot of eggs in those government contracting baskets, or some of the nonprofits that are now seeing their funding cut. Obviously, a lot of medical research organizations are seeing fundings cut. So there's ripple effects everywhere. So that brings me back to what I said a few minutes ago, which is about diversifying. Diversify. And you really have to be very strategic about this, right? It doesn't just mean look at other industries or other areas of the market, other market sectors that you could be working with. It means going deeper than that. It means looking at where inside of organizations have you typically brought your expertise to bear. And are there other areas, other functions, departments, divisions of organizations that you need to deepen your relationships with, that you need to look at bringing your expertise to bear for other parts of the business, not always going in the same door year after year, but saying, where could I take these core capabilities, these areas of expertise that we have, and how could we apply them and make them relevant to other areas of the business? And in both the cases of where inside of an organization you're bringing your expertise to bear, as well as which industries, which market sectors you're focused on, you want to think about following the money, right? We always say that's rule number one in business. You've got to follow the money. And so what does that look like? It looks at who's doing really well in the stock market right now. Which areas of the business are naturally pulling in all of the dollars? Money is like oxygen. So you've got to follow that oxygen in the marketplace. For a lot of organizations, obviously right now, the money, the oxygen is going to all things AI, which of course is being spearheaded by IT, but not just by IT. There are business strategy groups, business transformation groups, business risk groups. There are AI teams, committees, consortiums that are being formed inside these organizations. And those areas of the business obviously are where a lot of the money is going. There's also the product and service delivery side of organizations. Those are the profit centers inside of a company. Those are the ones who make and produce and or deliver the products or services that an organization puts out into the marketplace. And that's where a lot of the AI money is going first in the organization. It's really infusing the products and services because everybody wants to make sure that their product and service offerings out in the market are AI enabled, because if not, they're going to be left behind. So those parts of the companies are really seeing cash injections right now. They're seeing cash injections. That means that's where the hiring is happening. That's where the marketing services are going to have to be revised, amped up. It's where the teams are going to need to collaborate, where leaders are going to have a lot of pressure on them. So that's where the spending is going to go. And then you've got to look at the marketplace as well in terms of which organizations out there really have the money right now. You see a ton of spending in the energy space. Obviously, the IT industry is big, biotech is big. So you got to look at where the money is really going. From there, you've got to look at diversifying your service offerings, right? What's in your own program suite or product suite or services suite out into the marketplace? And right now is a good time to look at, is the way that you've been delivering your services and your expertise, is that what the market really wants right now? Do you need to tinker with how you are delivering, how you are bringing your expertise into the marketplace? Or is it working? And that might be one of those things that, look, if it's working, don't mess with it. But if you're starting to see organizations delay purchasing because they feel they can't make a commitment, where can you have a gateway offering right now with them to get them started in working with you, experiencing your expertise, cultivating that deeper relationship, that deeper trust level, really getting yourself more into the organization, really showing the value you have to deliver, but also better able to create custom solutions because you're already working with them. So you know exactly what the client needs. So the way that you're going to market right now might need to diversify. You really need to look at, do we have different level offerings based on where an organization is right now and their need to remain nimble and agile? Because you being responsive to that is one of the smartest ways that you can diversify your business right now. And then the last piece, of course, is just diversifying often how you talk about your expertise. If you're used to always talking to the learning and organizational development department, if you're used to always talking to HR, if you're used to always talking directly to the owners or the CEOs, or you're used to always talking to the CMOs, whoever it is that you normally talk to, is there another audience now that also needs to hear your message? You really want to look at diversifying that message. This is my message if I'm talking to this marketplace and this decision maker. This is my message if I'm talking to this marketplace and this is my decision maker. So you can diversify the markets that you're serving, the industries, the sectors of the marketplace that you're serving. You can diversify which departments, what divisions, which decision makers inside of an organization. that you are talking to. You can look at your product suite, your services suite, your program suite, and say, is this the right mix? Am I meeting the market where they are right now? And then lastly, you can diversify your messaging and you can say, look, if this is where you are, this is how we can help you here. But if this is where your organization is, this is where we can help you over here. The big thing that we're seeing right now, the big thing, and we spend, my faculty and I, we spend a lot of time looking at this stuff. The big thing that we see right now is folks being really stuck in the same old messaging that they've been using for years. Talking about, let's say it's a leadership area of expertise, how important leadership is, and just continuing to drive home the message that leadership is like the most important thing in the organization. I'm not saying it's not, but that message has been done. It's been said. It's been covered. Now it's about, but how is your expertise being brought to bear in this new level of disruption? Look, disruption's been going on for 20 years, right? But this new era of disruption, because this new mix of disruption is very, very different than even the disruption that we saw during the pandemic. It is a different type of disruption than we saw when social media came out and really took over in marketing. It's a different level disruption than we saw with ERP systems and the internet. We are at a different place on disruption. So who are you bringing your expertise to bear for? How are you bringing your expertise to bear? And then how are you talking about that so that it's really relevant to exactly what's happening inside of these organizations right now? And if you haven't diversified those things in your business and you do put all of your eggs in one basket and you think, I'm safe right now, because, I don't have federal contracts. I'm not downstream to those federal contracts. The organizations that I'm working with are not being disrupted. It's coming. It's coming. So the ability to be very nimble and agile and responsive is something that all business owners need to have right now. And if you are essentially your chief rainmaker, your chief marketing officer, your chief client service deliverer in your business, like if you're doing all of those things primarily, and you might have some vendors helping you, but ultimately you're the one who's doing them, then now is really the time that you have to lean in to that diversification. So just want to pop in and share that with all of you. I'm going to hop off now and head over to our private strategy day that we've got going on this morning. But just really keep this in mind as you're thinking about your marketing and your strategic focus for the rest of the year.